Hare Krishna, everyone. So, welcome all of you for the fourth episode of the series titled as Gita in a Nutshell series. So far, Guranga. All right, done. So far, we have discussed is God in control of things. Can you move a little bit ahead? Yeah, if that's okay. If it's not too much a balcony, kind of that seat thing. आपकी गर्दन टेढ़ी ना हो तब तक, it's okay. So far we discussed about is God in control. That was the first session. Largely, our part of discussion was, does God exist? Then we concluded with the scientific evidences about law means lawmaker, organization means organizer, energy means energetic, etc., etc. We concluded yes, God exists. Yes, all evidences point to the existence of somebody who is the organizer of this whole creation. Creation means creator. Then the question came, how do we know about him? So three ways of learning: Pratyaksha, Anuman, Shabda, Praman. That was the discussion. Excuse me. Pratyaksha and Anuman both have limitations. Shabda Praman is what seems to be absolute. And what is a Shabda Praman? That is Vedic scriptures. That brought us to the second topic, our Vedas mythology. This is what we have been taught. Everyone who writes a book on Veda, based on Vedic scriptures, they say, our mythology says like this. And we raised the question, it's preposterous to say that I believe in Durga, but then you say the Shakti Puran is mythology, or Devi Puran is mythology. You pick your choice. Don't be a joker, hanging between. Pick a choice. If you say mythology, don't believe, don't go to temple. You go to temple, you worship Durga, let's say for that Ram, Krishna, anyone, then for that reason, then you believe. What is it all like? In that we discuss about why do people believe in God. We had all that discussion like that. We gave our evidences why people say it's mythology. Two main reasons why scriptures are called as mythology. Once the credit goes to Max Muller, who coined the term. And second, we find it difficult to understand, so we think, oh, it's not possible. Why we find it, when we say it's difficult to understand, in the scientific community, people generally praises it. Oh, fantastic. I remember I was attending a conference in Las Vegas when I was a professional. So there was a keynote session. There was a big conference. I was also one of the speakers there, but there was a keynote session, one particular individual. And he spoke for almost 45 minutes. He was senior in the field in which I was working. And I was myself a scientist in that particular area. But to tell you the fact, I didn't understood head and tail of what he said. And I can bet you on this thing, nobody understood. Because not everyone was of the research background. And that fellow got a standing applause. For 2 minutes, I was in a shock. Did they applaud because he finally concluded? I mean, why the heck did they applause? Or did they really understood? Then I understood both my thinking were wrong. They applauded because they didn't understood anything. And because somebody said something which they did not understood, must be more smarter than them. That was the whole idea. Now, when it comes to scriptures, when we don't understand, we call it mythology because we have been taught Stone Age era. The Darwin theory, man came from apes, then Stone Age era. You ask any layman today, they say, oh, our ancestors were cavemen. And then in everything that show about it, from the videos, from the news and the media outlets, they show that, how the man in the earlier ages, it was living in a cave, then how he started growing crops, then how he became civilized. And they say, now this corrupt society teaches us that we are civilized. What kind of civilization? Divorce rates are increasing. That is civilization. Abortion rates are increasing. That is civilization. That is culture. Crime rate is increasing. That is civilization. Almost every other day there is a shooting case in America. Now it's happening in Russia, Europe, all over the place. Is that your culture? Is that your civilization? How many of you, while growing up, ever heard in your whole neighborhood somebody got divorced? Anyone? How many have come across that news now? Quite often. Is that culture civilized? Is that we are advancing? So you see, there's just basic logical analysis of this tells us we have been taught a lie. Therefore, we came to the third session, the biggest lie ever spoken. And what's the biggest lie ever spoken? I am the body. And we discussed about it. And we gave scientific evidences for what all we discussed so far. And now, after establishing we are not the body but spiritual, we come to another fourth topic, a debatable topic. I remember I was a young boy, Navratro ka samay chal raha, so I was reminiscing on my trip to Vaishno Devi recently. So I remember when we finished our Vaishno Devi Yatra, we came to Jammu. Most of you might have visited Vaishno Devi. So in Katra, क्या कहते हैं? Katra, there is one temple. That temple has shrines of all the 33 crore devatas. Anyone know that? Yes, right? Yeah. So I remember. So I grew up in a family which is very religious minded. So when you go to temple, you have to really bow down your back. And if you're a youngster, you're supposed to touch the ground with your hands. Like, you have to really bend. So when my father told me, today I'm going to take you to the very special temple. So we were excited. And then he said, how many gods are there? I said, how many? At max you will have 10, 15, 20, maybe 30. Depends on the size of the temple. He said 33. Oh, I said, oh, so many. He said, no, wait, crore. I was sweating. मैंने कहा गया मेरा पीठ बहुत झुकना पड़ेगा. The immediate thought, I was a young boy. I was probably 6th, 7th grade. I was like, मेरा तो पीठ गया आज. My back is gone. I'll have to bend on 33 crore times. This is crazy like that. So what they've done is there are shrines, and in that they have put little kind of shivling, you want to call it, not shivling exactly, but representation. And they say these are like this. I don't think so. There'll be 33 crores. I never counted it, but it is like that. It said that all representation of that. So the point I'm saying, it is said, other religious people, fanatics would always say, because I met such religious fanatics, and I started practicing my own culture, and for almost 6 to 7 months I was practicing Christianity when I was in my college life, because I was studying in South India. There's a lot of this kind of conversions happens. So I was told, what Hinduism is all bogus. You have so many devatas, you don't know who is God. So many jokes are cracked on that. And it's a troubling thing. How many of you have in your childhood growing up or even now have asked your parents, who is our God? You seem to worship everyone. Friday, Devi ka. Mangalwar, Hanuman ka. Shivji, Somvar. Right? Sato din sat fast. Ladies do some other fasting traditionally. My mother used to do some fasting, every day some fasting. And when you ask them, how many of you remember, in case if you have a raised question, when you ask them, who are they? Chup. Shh. Question nahi puchte. Sab Bhagwan hai. How many of you had that experience? Raise your hand. Shh. आवाज नहीं उठा. सुन लेंगे वो क्या कह रहे हो. उनके ऊपर प्रश्न उठा रहे हो. So when you grow up, it becomes a big issue. So how many of you have a question? Is there a one God or many gods? Raise your hands now. How many of you lack understanding? How many of you don't have clarity? Who is God? Raise your hand. If you don't raise your hand, I'm going to ask you evidence. We don't work on sentiments. We work on scientific facts. You have to give Shastra Praman. Let me repeat my question again. How many of you are confused? One God or many gods? Raise your hand. देखो evidence मांगा तो अभी हाथ उठाने शुरू हो गए. All right. See, who is our real well-wisher or real friend? Think about, as an individually, my sustenance depends entirely on the grace. Yes or no? If there is no fresh oxygen, can I live? If there is no fresh drinking water, pure drinking water, can I survive? If there is no food grains, not only food grains, but tasty, ripened, can you eat sour mango? If there is no tasty fruits or vegetables available, which means rasa, can I eat anything? And if I don't eat anything, can I maintain my body? So if you see, now with this context, how many of you agree, my life is nothing but dependent on grace? Raise your hands. Pakka? Not DMart? You get everything from DMart ultimately, na? Pani ki bottle, sabji, sab DMart se aata hai. So think about it. So question is, if my life is based on grace, who is that person who is graceful to me? And that person should be the Supreme Personality Godhead. Now, we don't have anything to do with rain clouds. We only ensure the rain clouds doesn't come out in our city by creating pollution. We are just disrupting the natural process, but we're not creating anything. So who is that real friend? And that's the subject matter for today. Brief FAQ is what we intend to discuss on this subject matter. We're going to discuss and largely, more or less, everything that people can think of on the subject matter. Let's begin with, how many of you have wondered why there are so many different religions and scriptures? If there is one God, there should be one scripture, one religion. Raise your hand. Yes, it's a very valid question. Let's take that question. Why did God created so many religions? Many times people say, oh, if God exists, particularly atheists have this argument, if God exists, why he has to create so much disturbance? Because matter of fact is, most of the conflict today happens on the name of religion. Now religion, how I see it, is nothing but a political party, where people, for their own political gains, on the name of religious gains, they're fighting over each other. You see the debate shows that happen on the TV these days, you'll have representatives of different faiths sitting there. By any chance, looking at their face, they look like holy. The holy cow would die in shame, looking at their faces. They look so aggressive, so upset. Now, if somebody is God conscious, God believing, must have godly qualities. And godly qualities are entirely opposite to aggressive behavior. So, why there are so many religions? Why there are so many different names and forms and worships and rituals of God like that? Is there any one path that synthesizes all these religions? Is there any one ultimate goal behind all these religions? Now, first of all, why there are so many varieties? The reason for varieties is, just like you travel in a train. Imagine if there was only first AC car. How many of you could have afforded it? Some of you not. Right? Imagine if there was only chair car, general car. How many of you would even have thought of going by train now? So, but when there are choices, according to individual's capacity and liking, I have an opportunity to select now. Yes or no? So the purpose of the train, the journey happens. Purpose of dharma is to bring you closer to God, is to induce godly qualities. So the varieties are provided. Either you take in the path of yoga, there is a karma yoga, there is a jnana yoga, there is ashtanga yoga, which is also known as dhyana yoga, hatha yoga, there is bhakti yoga. There are all varieties. Why? The variegatedness is provided so that at least something is attracted to an individual, so that he latches onto the right path. If it is only about one thing, just like certain religious beliefs say today, there's only one life. It doesn't make sense. There's not about one life. Similarly, there is only one God. When you can have twins, triplets, sometimes four, what do you call as quadruplets. Bhagwan ka twin nahi ho sakta. Why Bhagwan only has to be one? Why can't he manifest himself in various forms? Why the same God can also be Allah, can also be Jesus, can also be Krishna, Rama? Why not? Why it has to be only one? And that one, who I believe. Only who I believe has to be one. Now, is it about God consciousness? Is it about gratifying one's own ego? What do you think? It's all about ego. There's no God consciousness. There's largely an ego consciousness. How can you limit somebody who you call as a creator of this creation, say that he cannot expand himself? Just even in the common day life, you see the sun. You may be from different states in this country. If in case you happen to be somebody from Andhra Pradesh, let's say speak Telugu, sun would have a different name. Yes or no? In Sanskrit we call it Surya. In English we call it sun. Now because you and I call it differently, does he changes? But if imagine I tell you, only sun. Samajhe? So what does it mean? I am trying to dictate my terms because I want you to become like me or follow my belief system. But that is not what is the idea. Because everyone is a unique individual, therefore the variegatedness is being offered. Is it making sense? You are all connected to it? We need to switch off that sound of water. So, what is religion? Richard M. Nixon, he said, in the long term, we can hope that religion will change the nature of man and reduce conflict. But history is not encouraging in this respect. The bloodiest wars in history have been religious wars. I can give you the whole history of how and when this evangelism and jihadis, all this started. But it will take a lot of time. But since the time you want to look back in the history in Kali Yuga, particularly on the name of religion, there has been only crusades. When you mean by crusades in Christian terminology, in Islamic terminology, that means jihad. Is more or less the same thing like that. So, what is religion? Now, religion again is a big misnomer. The word religion does not necessarily has anything to do with God. The definition itself of religion has got nothing to do with God. But somehow we attribute that to God. Alright, the word itself does not mean. Why are we attributing it? That is our misunderstanding. What does religion means? The word religion comes from the Latin word religio. The word religio means a group of people having a common faith. And that becomes a religion. So a common group of people having a common faith becomes their religion. So with that as a background, atheism becomes the biggest religion. Yes or no? No, atheism has got nothing to do with God. It's about negating God. So religion has got nothing to do with God consciousness. What got to do with God consciousness is spirituality. What got to do with God consciousness? Spirituality. So we are not practicing religion, we practice spirituality. I'll explain this terminology. Okay. Now in Sanskrit, the mother of all languages, we already discussed in previous session. What is the word which we call it in English as religion today? What is it? What is that is being called in Sanskrit? That is called as dharma. Take a look at Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita begins with dharma. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, samaveta, yusava. Mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Bhagavad Gita begins with dharma. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, with Dhritarashtra saying Kurukshetra is a land of dharma. Now, let me ask you, what dharmic activity had happened? The war of Kurukshetra. If the war of Kurukshetra had happened, what is that land of dharma? Okay. Then you a little bit go ahead in second chapter, verse number 7. Arjuna says, Karpanya doshupahata svabhava prachami tvam dharma samudha chetaha. Dharmo, no, what is that? Karpanya doshupahata svabhava prachami tvam dharma samudha cheta. Yashrehasyan nishchitam ruhitan me. Oh, where is the word dharma here? Did I say that? Sorry. Karpanya doshupahata svabhava prachami tvam dharma. Sorry, I lost train of thought. Prachami tvam dharma. Prachami means I ask. Tvam means unto you. Prachami tvam dharma samudha chetaha. I am inquiring to you about what? My dharma. Why? Samudha chetaha. My cheta means my consciousness. Samudha means has got bewildered. So, are you thinking Arjuna was asking Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra where arrow was about to be shot at any point of time? Please tell me I am Hindu, Christian, Islamic. So what is he meant by, please tell me what is my dharma? What is the meaning of word dharma? Anyone would like to try if anyone knows what dharma means? There's so much fight happens on something which we have no idea. I mean, is this just a lie? What are we fighting for? What does dharma means? Then move forward to the 4th chapter, verse number 8. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya. Then Krishna says, I appear again and again to establish dharma. There's so many verses. And then finally at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharman paritya, give up all dharma. Bhaiya, chahte kya? What do you want? First he said, I'm just skipping many verses. Like I can quote 100 verses like this. Now Krishna says in 4th chapter that I descend to establish dharma. And the end of Bhagavad Gita, one of the concluding instructions of Krishna is give up all dharma. What dharma has he come to establish and what dharma is he saying give it up? So dharma, be very clear what this means first of all. The word dharma, in Sanskrit, the meaning of dharma is our constitutional position. Like sugar is identified by sweetness. The dharma of sugar is sweetness. Salt is identified by saltiness. The dharma of salt is? So my question to all of you is, what is your dharma now? What are you identified with? Male, female, family name, country of birth, your education, your occupation? Really? But it all keeps changing. You can change your passport. You can change your name. You can, whatever you think you are, what identifies you. Is there anything which is permanent? Nothing. If you say my name is permanent, on the 6th day of your birth, you didn't have a name. 7th day is a name giving ceremony. That time also you will call Pappu Tappu only. When the time your school came, that time you got an official name. Yes or no? How many of you had a nickname? Right? That time mother said, Ram Tappu Pappu Rakh do, bas baat khatam. So that time also you didn't have a name. What name giving ceremony you had? So please understand, please tell me about this thing. So who are you? What are you identified with? Sugar is identified with sweetness. What is your identity? What are you identified with? You are Atma. Our Atma ka matlab hai. Sugar is sugar, but sugar is identified with sweetness. What are you identified with? What is your dharma? Yeah. See, all of you engineers, maybe big managers, but forgot the most fundamental question. The answer to the most fundamental. What is my dharma? Dharma of every living entity, please tell me if you don't agree with that, is to serve. Is there any living entity who is not serving the others? The plants, they inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, yes or no? And we humans inhale oxygen. If they won't, plants would not exhale oxygen. How would we get oxygen? There is a symbiotic relationship you all have studied in your science. Now from plants and trees and we get our food, and then we get herbs in the form of medicine. Everything is symbiotic relationship. From the same trees we get wood for our furniture, for making our home. So now do you see every living entity serving other living entity? That can never be taken away. So the dharma of a living entity is to serve. Now when you say my dharma is so and so, that becomes a political party. Is that correct? Conclusion to come? People say I belong to this party, I belong to that party. You may belong to that, but you can change your party. Similarly, you say I belong to this religion, that religion. You can change your religion. But can you change your dharma? You cannot. That's your identity. Is that sinking into your head right now? That is what meant by dharma. So imagine, what are we fighting for? People are fighting for their political parties. One is recognized by the election commission, while other is not recognized by the election commission but act as a proxy for those who fight elections. Got the connection? On the name of religion, that's what is going in the world. But the understanding over here is, so Sanatan Dharma, the essence of all religion. So which means our eternal position. That is to serve. So far, any questions? Do you agree with this? Raise your hands. Have you understood the meaning of word dharma? Have you understood what word religion? Please raise your hand, everyone. If not, those are not raising, I'm going to ask a question. All right. Okay. So, beautiful verse that describes what is a dharma. Please repeat after me. I'm going to make you repeat quite a few verses today. Because that's the subject matter. I can't just say, think like this, I feel like this. We're going to say what scripture says, right? Please repeat. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakte rato saje ahituki apratihata ye atma suprasidati. Savai pumsam paro dharmo. What is the best of dharma? Yato bhakti adhoksaje, by which one gets to render devotional service to adhoksaje. Adhoksaje means infallible, which means the Supreme Lord. Ahetuki apratihata. And what kind of devotional service should be? Ahetuki, causeless. Apratihata, unstoppable. Yatma suprasidati. And what will you get for that? Suprasidati, eternal peace and happiness. So the best dharma is which re-establishes your relationship with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, when you read Bhagavad Gita, you will understand Krishna is not speaking about give up your duties. Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to perform his duties. Did after listening to Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna took sannyas, so he fought the battle. So from where did you got this idea where people say Bhagavad Gita teaches you about renunciation? All of you would have heard this, work is worship. Where is that slogan comes? That's in Bhagavad Gita. What is that shloka? Karmane vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. The very first line is taken from here. Karmanevadhikaras. You have the right to perform your. So in the different ways it's presented. So in that Krishna says you cannot stop performing your work, and there's a whole discussion on it. But now perform your work in such a way that work becomes worship. That work that you do itself becomes yoga and the way of your liberation from this whole cycle of birth and death. That is called as Karma Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga. So Bhagavad Gita nowhere is talking about cessation of activities. In fact, it's talking about the right motivations behind the activities so that the same action which you had been performing until yesterday, when you perform today, will give you a different result. You're still going to have material prosperity because you're working towards it, but just you change the motivation behind it. Now that becomes a service to the Lord. That's it. Arjuna fought. And after that, Arjuna's elder brother became the king. He continued to support. Then he went on for Ashwamedha Yajna, again to win over the whole world and to get the wealth, isn't it? Never gave it up. So that is what we mean by performing our dharma, which brings us closer to Krishna. And how to perform that? For that you have to study Bhagavad Gita in details. Then you understand you're an IT engineer, you're a doctor, whatever profession you are, you don't have to give up that. Continue working as you're working. Just have to understand what motivation with which I have to work. There has to be change of consciousness, and that becomes yoga. That's what Bhagavad Gita establishes. Would it be better if we had only one religion and one scripture? Yes, would have been better, but as I said, imagine if you only had a train which had first AC or only general class. It might sound convenient, but not all convenient things are good for everyone. Now, I don't have a choice. I don't have an opportunity to spend that much money for first AC, but I can't go in such an uncomfortable situation in general class. So according to one's ability, one latches onto it. So Vedic scriptures in general are spoken at length from the lowest man on this in this world could possibly and to the highest person. It covers every scope of an individual, and every facility is provided for all this wide range of people to get connected to Krishna consciousness or to the eternal constitutional position. Next, does one religion have a monopoly over God? Well, many people claim so, that yes, my religion has monopoly over God. But before that, please understand how old is the history of these religions. Let's take a look. Sikhism 600 years ago, Islam 1300 years ago, Christianity 2000 years ago, Buddhism 2500 years old, Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5000 years ago. So are we referring to because Islam came 1300 years ago, so Allah didn't existed before that? Or Christianity came 2000 years ago, so Jesus didn't exist before that? Does it make sense? If in case Buddhism existed before Christianity and Islam, so how can the God cannot exist? From where did the Buddhism came? Isn't it? Bhagavad Gita was spoken to 5000 years ago. Now in the same Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Arjuna, evam parapara praptam. Or not that. What is that verse? The first verse of 4th chapter. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyam. Krishna says, I spoke this knowledge to sun god, and Vivaswan spoke to Ikshvaku. Like that. So it was spoken millions of years ago. So, Sanatan Dharma, which is coming from the beginning of the creation. So there is only one religion, one scripture, yes. But according to time, as you see at different times, according to the place, all these religions appears in different places in this world, right? Buddhism came over in this part of the world. Then Christianity came in the Middle East, a little bit Middle East again. And the Islam also came at that point, around that place. So if you see, according to different places, time, circumstances, and audiences, and for all of these audiences were different. I'll go into details of all of this religion for you to understand. So according to difference in time, place, circumstances, they have all appeared for the purpose of giving choices to people to latch onto something, to be progressive. So okay, if they are all a subset of the same one religion, ultimately the Sanatan Dharma, then how can we resolve contradictions in different religions? To resolve contradictions, there are three things to follow. First, why does this contradiction exist? Just like if there is a student who's supposed to, or let's say his intellect level is for 2nd standard. You want to push him into a 10th standard. Now, can he digest what would be taught in 10th standard? How many of you agree? he might just get completely disappointed with the whole education system. Give it up. This is frustrating. So, what is recommended? Advancement step by step. Let him take admission in second grade. Let him go through that study. Let him be progressive. Yes or no? That's the whole point about it. Let's take a look. To understand this, let's discuss the similarities in religion first. So, similarities in religion, chanting the holy names. Bible says, hallowed by the name. Islam, chant 99 names of Allah. You see, they all have beads. Those who are actually sincere practitioners, you'll see that. Mahabharat Vishnu Sahasranam is found, and Kali Sanatan Upanishad says, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra like that. First is chanting the names of the Lord. Another similarity, love of God. Bible says, love thy God, which means by all your means, love the God. Islam says, complete surrender to the will of God. Bhagavad Gita says, Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Same thing, love of Godhead. Again, common principles. Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Mata Sarvam Pravartate. Arjuna says, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Vyasdev says, whenever Krishna has to speak, Vyasdev says, Bhagwan Vacha. So, Arjuna says Krishna is Bhagwan, Vyasdev says Krishna is Bhagwan, and Krishna himself declares, I am Bhagwan. Okay, now if not, that we'll discuss later on. So, one God, service to God, and every scripture talk about, there is another place, which is the abode of God. The place where we stay is a temporary place of suffering. And to go to that place, we need guidance. Every religion talks about guru, somebody who can teach us. And then there are different regulative principles. Like in Christianity, there's 10 commandments. Similarly, in Islam, to the degree you have knowledge of Quran, you will understand there are certain religious tenets, even in Islam. And so, in our Vedic understanding, 4 regulative principles like that. But what is the differences among different religions? Is the fan okay for all of you, or need to be switched off? If anyone needs water, there is water over there. Differences amongst different religions. Let's take a look. Let's start with Islam. Now, first of all, as I said, all these different religions have appeared according to different time, place, and circumstance. We saw the time. Places, they appear in different places in the Middle East for that reason. And circumstances. Islam was born or appeared, or Islam religion was founded, or let's say the first students of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, for that reason, were nomads. Nomads where there was no education, there was no culture. And I'll give you an example. For example, it is mentioned in the 4th Surah, 23rd ayat, which means there was no sex with mother or sister. Now that statement itself would indicate what was the cultural setup of the people to whom Prophet Muhammad was speaking. Yes or no? He said, I received 2 kinds of knowledge. One of these I have taught you, but the other would break your heart. Prophet Muhammad, Reincarnation Islam, 1927 book published, makes the point. So, although Prophet Muhammad himself was representative of God and self-realized soul, but his audience were tribesmen of desert. He's saying a point like, no relationship with mother and daughter. You can understand what would be their cultural upbringing like that. For the little that Muhammad taught, he had to flee from Mecca due to threat to his life. In other words, he could not speak everything. As he said, I have 2 things. I received 2 knowledge. One I have given you. If I give the other, that will break your heart. You're not yet ready. It's just like 2nd grade student. You're trying to teach him trigonometry. In this case, it will break his head. Yes or no? Okay, let's go to Christianity for that reason. John 16 chapter verse number 12. There is much that I have to tell you, but you can't bear it now. So who were the students of Jesus? When he had come back, many historians believe, and according to historical claims, Jesus had the missing 12 years of his life. He was wandering in India. And the major part of the 12 years he had spent in Jagannath Puri, where he learned the Vedic knowledge. And from here he had gone back. So if you read the life of Jesus, from the 12 to 24, 12 to 26 years approximately is missing. They don't talk about it like that. Anyways, so when he went back, the first audience were fishermen tribe. And those people had, there was a kind of a drought. They didn't have food for days together. So how this fisherman tribe believed in Jesus? Because he entered the water and he caught a fish, wherein the fish was not found for days together, weeks together. And people saw this as a miracle. And therefore there's a debate up to today, which means Jesus ate fish. No, Jesus did not eat fish. Jesus caught fish just to reinstate the faith of those people into him, that I can do some miracles, means I am a holy man, so that they can hear. The first set of students of Jesus were these fishermen tribe, like that. This reveals how Jesus withheld certain teachings and keeping in mind the inadequacies of his audience. So first of all, Bible was written. The first volume of Bible came out after 76 years of Jesus' departure. So the Romans were responsible for the death of Jesus. And you know who wrote the first Bible? The Roman king. In the next generation, it was written by the next set of a king. Again, as I said, I can't go in all the details of it. The session will become too long. Because post Jesus' departure and then the whole story of reincarnation that had happened, there was a religious movement that took place. And just to pacify the people or bring the people under control, the king pretended to be accepting the teachings of Jesus. And the Bible was written in that situation. And from then until today, there have been hundreds and hundreds of variations and versions of Bible, like that. Sometimes you say, oh, we have so many things, but you don't know how much variations are there in other religious beliefs for that reason, like that. So this is a brief about these two Abrahamic traditions. Let's talk about Vedas for that reason. It addresses people ranging from lowest to highest category. For example, the same way the scripture will say, an addict, let's say an alcohol addict, if he abstains in a holy month, for example, Kartik month is about to come, starting from 10th October, is one of the most auspicious months. What you could not do the 11 months in your life, in your year, of what you have not done all your life, in this particular month, if you do any spiritual activity, the results that you get is hundreds and thousands of times. So auspicious. You want to give a charity, this is the month, and the amount of charity you give is insignificant in comparison to the results that you will get for that. It is considered 1,000 times more like that in capacity. If you go to Tirtha in that time, it's just like visiting all the Tirthas in one shot. Like that, the advantage. So it says, if an addict abstains in holy months, reaps a pious credit. So this is for a person on a lower consciousness. But if a priest or a brahmana commits a sin, if even once, if he breaks a principle, then he commits a grave sin. So for an addict, there was no punishment prescribed. It was said, just do not break the principle in this month. You'll get pious credit. But for a brahmana, if he even once break any time of his life, then a grave sin will incur. For example, when Yudhishthira Maharaj was ruling, then a case came to his notice where 4 people were involved. There was a Shudra who had killed a person. When Shudra was caught, brought in front of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj asked him, why did you kill? Then he said, I was instructed by, for example, the situation was, the Vaishya had instructed me because such and such person has taken away some wealth of this Vaishya. Then Vaishya was brought in. The Vaishya said, oh, why did you instruct him to kill? He says, sir, it was not my instruction. I had went to a Kshatriya, the local administrator here, and I requested for help. And he said, this rogue, this thief is out of my control also. It is better you arrange somebody to finish him off. So then the Kshatriya was called in. Why did you instruct this Vaishya to hire a Shudra to kill this person? He said, sir, it was not my decision. I consulted a Brahmana. I said, what do we do with this rogue? So he said, finish him off. He's a troublemaker. So Brahmana was called. And all of them agreed for their crime that yes, we were party to it. So when the time of punishment came, Yudhishthira Maharaj, for an example, gave 4 years punishment to, let's say, Shudra. 8-year punishment to Vaishya. 12-year punishment to Kshatriya. And 16-year punishment to Brahmana. This was not the actual number. The punishment was different, but I'm saying proportionally. So everyone was surprised. A minister asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, Brahmana all his life has done good deed. For one wrong deed, why you are giving him 4 times the punishment of a person who actually performed a sinful act? So then Yudhishthira Maharaj said, Brahmanas, they are supposed to know what is right, what is wrong. Being on that platform of knowledge, he has committed a sin. Therefore, he cannot be forgiven. he would be given more punishment. This fellow is anyways culpable. He commits a mistake. And he had followed the order of a learned man. So he cannot be punished as much as a learned man has to be punished. This is the Vedic way of giving justice. And that is what has been said. If an alcoholic abstains in a pious month, holy month, then he gets pious credit. Whereas a Brahmana in any time of their life, he commits a mistake, he gets sin for that. So for all ranges of people are covered. So who were the audience for Vedas? For example, this is Sukdev Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, king of the whole world. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who was the recipient? Arjuna. The man who on the self-same body went to moon. Not moon, but Indralok. And Elon Musk can never do that. Right? He didn't need a space shuttle. He didn't need a space suit or anything. Arjuna went in the self-same body. No scientist of today can even think of it like that. So that Arjuna of that character, of high character, and that's a place where Urvashi had come to him. You all know the story. And Urvashi said, I would like to spend let's have some pleasure time. And Arjuna said, sorry, you're my mother. Because Urvashi and Pururuva is one of the ancestors of Pandavas from whom the Puru dynasty came. He said, you're like my mother. And Urvashi became upset. And she cursed him that you will become a eunuch. And then by the mercy of blessing of Indradev, that blessing, curse turned into 1 year. And that was what happened incognito. So point is, Arjuna was able to say no to Urvashi. And Urvashi was not an ordinary living entity. She had appeared from Narayan Rishi. When Urvashi had appeared from Narayan Rishi, Indra had got frightened of Narayan Rishi and had sent Kamadev to go and disturb the austerities of Narayan, to break their celibacy. And when Kamadev went with that intention and he manifested many beautiful apsaras, or he brought many beautiful apsaras, then Narayan Rishis manifested Urvashi. Seeing Urvashi, Kamadev and all the apsaras fainted. All the Kamadevs and apsaras fainted. And to that Urvashi, Arjuna is saying, you're like my mother. Now you can imagine what would be the character. You getting it? So who was the recipient of Bhagavad Gita? No tribesmen of Middle East. No sex with your mother and daughter. No fisherman community. Who was the recipient of Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna. And what was his character? Now you understand, if somebody is so qualified, what would be the conversation between? And who was the speaker? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the only text where the Lord has personally spoken. Is there any text where the Lord has personally spoken? All of the text has been spoken by messengers. Yes? That's the speciality of Bhagavad Gita. So, to resolve contradictions in religion, the ability to digest, avoid rejection and advancement step by step, like that. If you look at it, all the religions have, the essential principles are all same. For example, they teach about relationship. God is one, we are His children. Second, the goal of scripture is to revive your relationship with God. Third is the realization of that relationship that culminates in love of Godhead. So these are the essential principles. So the question comes, if that is the essential principles are all same, then why are there so many differences? And a very simple example that Srila Prabhupada would give, the difference between an Oxford dictionary and a pocket dictionary. In a pocket dictionary, those days, now though you have everything on your internet, but you will have a small pocket dictionary. But that would not have all the words, all the vocabulary. Oxford dictionary used to be this big, bulky. So pocket dictionary is a subset of it. Which means it's a subset of it, but it does not represent entirely the Oxford. So there is no differences. The differences is in terms of external understanding. Oxford dictionary may have a big letters and a nice page, and the pocket dictionary may have a low quality paper and a small size. So you may say there are differences, but these are external differences. But ultimately, in principle, it is same. Relationship, revival, and realization. These are the essential three subject matter of all the scriptures for that reason. All right. So why are there so many differences? Another reason is, we gave an example, pocket dictionary versus Oxford dictionary. Other reason why there are so many differences, what is the motivation behind worship? Why or for what reason people are encouraged to approach the Lord? There are 4 kinds of motivations. First motivation, bhaya, fear, which you find in largely in the Western theology. If you ever see the form of a god, the form of the god is somebody who's very old, has a big beard, angry looking eyes, and has a thunderbolt or something in his hand. Something like this. Yeah, if you haven't been to Europe like this, you'll find all of these forms, they don't have a representation, but if there had been any representations, as far as I have seen, they're always like this. So all this modern day religion works on fear. You accept God, go to heaven, not hell. What is that? Fear mongering is all fear mongering. So people say, okay, fine. So, like that. Follow God or burn in hell. Second motivation is desires. धन संपत्ति घर आवे, जय जगदीश हरे, बोलो जय जगदीश हरे. So why बोलो जय जगदीश हरे? धन संपत्ति घर आवे, ना आवे, ना बोले जय जगदीश हरे. That is the meaning of it, ना? You are saying, पहले बोला है धन संपत्ति घर आवे, तो बोले जय जगदीश हरे. पहले ही नहीं बोला जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, धन आवे ना आवे. दैट वुड बी गुड प्रेयर. बट पहले कंडीशन डाल दिए, धन संपत्ति घर आवे तो बोलूं जय जगदीश हरे. That is desires. Okay, praise for material success like that, where a person treats God like a bellboy. Hotel you have a bellboy, ting ting, and he comes, yes sir, I want dhan, I want this, I want Lakshmi, I want that, I want 2 BHK, 3 BHK, whatever. So at least analysis of such kind of people, person recognizes God. He is not a devotee of God, but devotee of his desires. Thus, he can change his loyalty easily. So if he has been ringing a bell for a while at Shivji's temple, but Shivji is not, although Ashutosh, but not responding, then he'll go to Hanumanji's. And he's ringing bell there. If nothing happens there, then he'll come to Navaratri. And he'll celebrate Navaratri, dance, Garba. Maybe Durga will be pleased. If nothing happens there, then Ganesh Chaturthi. So that's how. So he's a devotee of his desires, and may reject God when faced with setbacks. When nobody listens to him, he says, "God does not exist. Nobody is fulfilling my desires." Now, what is another level of motivation is kartavya. Recently, something was called as kartavya marg, right? Yeah. So duty and obligation. We are serving God in gratitude to what He has provided. As I said at the beginning of the session, our life is a life of grace. We are actually beggars. The oxygen is provided, the food is provided, the water is provided. What are we doing? If these basic necessities of life are not there, and who's providing that? You may say the government is ensuring it and all that, but who's providing the government? These are all natural resources. So understanding that I'm just giving external parameters. You read Bhagavad Gita, you'll get to know how. Now, for example, imagine all of you have a tea break, coffee break during office hours. All of you take. Imagine your heart decides one day to take a tea break. That medically you call as a heart break. Heart attack, right? So what is heart attack? He went for a tea break. And if decided to take a big break, then terminated from job. Yes. So who is managing your functioning of the heart? The lungs are oxygenating, the kidneys are filtering. Yes or no? You have no idea. Whatever goddamn kachara we put in our body, it still functions. Who is doing that? Again, I'm not going into details of it. I'm just giving clues for you to think about it. We are living a life of grace only. Only grace case, mercy case. So having that understanding, then person serves God, knowing that, Prabhu, all your mercy. Imagine how so many people go to sleep in the night. Does everyone wake up in the morning? So you wake up, others didn't wake up. Are you responsible for that? And the other person was responsible because he didn't wake up? So every day when you wake up, first thing, thank God. Thank you for giving me one more opportunity. Not to forget you, for giving me an opportunity to revive my relationship with you. So in a Brahminical culture, when a person wakes up, the very first thing he does is offer prayers. So earth is Bhumi Devi. So we don't keep our feet on the earth. The first we get up, we offer prayers, and then we offer prayers to Bhumi Devi. My dear mother, you are giving me shelter. So kindly allow me to put my feet on you. So when he goes to take bath in river, he doesn't splashes into the river or the ocean. He offers obeisances. My dear ocean devta, Varun devta, or whatever, please kindly allow me to enter your water. What a change of consciousness. Now you recognize there are these personalities who's providing everything for us, unlike when we are in the exploitative mood. That is what Kartavya platform. Then the fourth motivation is the highest motivation, that is pure spiritual love, where the person serves the Lord because he loves. You go to Rajasthan, Mirabai is very famous. You go to Gujarat, what is that Gujarat? Narsingha Mehta. Maharashtra, Pune, right next to Dehu, Sant Tukaram. They just love God. They just love God. You go to Odisha, so many great personalities, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You go to South India, Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Nimbakacharya, so many people. You go to North, Tulsidas, so many people. They just love God. So tell me, if somebody just loves you, but he doesn't want anything from you, but he loves you, how would you feel? How would you feel? How many? Of course, this is not a complete question. How many of you say you will feel so grateful and so happy that he doesn't want anything from me, but he just loves me? How many of you feel your heart will be filled with gratitude? Raise both your hands. So imagine, why wouldn't Lord reciprocate when Lord is providing in a situation when we are not loving Him also, when we don't even recognize Him? Imagine when we have come to this level of realization and have the spontaneous love for the God. What would be? Therefore it is said, Kartik month, we're going to have Kartik month, Kartik festivals. Kartik month, the most important lesson that you learn from this whole Kartik Mass and wonderful events that have occurred in the history or during the time of the Lord's presence, that when a question comes, Bhakta Bada ya Bhagavan? Generally people say Bhagavan Bada, but no, Bhakta Bada. Who was driving the chariot of Arjuna? So who is Bada? Bhakta Bada, Bhagavan? How Bhagavan Bada? Who is the driver? So driver Bada or the master of the car? The person who is driving. So Bhakta Bada ya Bhagavan. So 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the very first verse says, there is 3 kinds of confidential knowledge. Guhya, Guhyataha, Guhyatamam. The most confidential knowledge is the relationship of the devotee and the Lord. A layman has no conception of it, because we are living on a very selfish platform. We cannot understand what happens when there is love. But you all agreed, if somebody loves me and has no desire, nothing to ask from me, I'm just willing to do anything for him. I'm just willing to do anything because he doesn't want anything from me. Therefore, when Narasimha Dev appeared, he said, Prahlad, ask. He said, I don't want. Are you ask? He said, I don't want. Are you ask something for me for my pleasure? You ask because I will be happy. Now the Lord wants to give, but you don't want anything. Same with Dhruva Maharaj. When Lord appeared, Dhruva Maharaj, Lord said, ask. Dhruva said, I don't need anything. Are you came to ask. But he said, Prabhu, I got your darshan. After having your darshan, I realized I came to ask for broken pieces of glasses, but I've got diamond. I don't need to ask anything. But Lord said, no, you still ask, because I would be happy to serve you. I would be happy to serve you. That is mine. So Bhakta Badaya Bhagavan is a very important month, but that is. So question comes, which scripture teaches us about this pure love of Godhead? And that is called as Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's take a look. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madyaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi yuktvaevam atmanam matparayanaha. I'll be quick with the verses. Man mana bhava mad bhakta madhyaji. Lord Krishna says, Man mana, you think about me, become my devotee, madhyaji, render service unto me, namaskuru, offer your obeisances unto me, like that. Then again, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashitaha bahavo jnana tapasa Bhutamadbhavamagataha. So Manmaya Mam Upashrita, who have dedicated their mind, Upashrita, have taken my shelter. Bahava Jnanata Puta Madbhavam Agata. They have attained to my eternal abode. I am attracted to only to my devotees. A very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. थोड़ा जोश से बोलो. Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. Tadham bhakti uparatam. Ashnami prayatatmanaha. You can offer me patra, push, phala, toya means water. Prayachati means I will accept. How? If it is offered with bhakti. Yome bhaktya prayachati. If it is offered with devotion, I'll accept. It doesn't matter what you offer me. Now, patra, pushpa, phala, toya is only given by him only, na? How many of you have done worship of Ganga? You have gone into the Ganges, taken the Ganges water and say, Ganga, ye le. Ganga बोलेगा भाई मेरा पानी मेरे को दे रहा है. And how much water can you hold in your hand? चुल्लू भर पानी गंगा को देके कहते हो गंगा खुश रहे, मेरे पाप कर्मों से मुझे मुक्त कर. Ganga is all right. At least you came and recognized I exist. I'm happy with that. So, patram pushpam phalam. These are all gifts of the Lord. Lord says, but you give it with love. Serve me with love. Tesham satata yuktanam. Bhajatam priti purvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Yenamam upayanti te. Bhajatam serves priti purvakam. How? With love. Priti means affection. When you render service unto me with affection, that is what Krishna is saying. So this is a scripture which teaches about how to serve God with love. So many times people say, oh, Vedas, they are Hindu scriptures, right? But interestingly, in the whole of Vedas, there is not even once word Hindu mentioned. So how can it be Hindu scriptures if the scriptures are only not identifying you as Hindu? If the scriptures are not dictating you as a Hindu, who gave you word Hindu? From where did this word Hindu came? Not Britishers. So there is a Sindhu river which flows through Pakistan today. So that Sindhu river, the Arabs, or Persians you want to call it, not Persians actually, but Arabs, Muslims, so they, in their language at that time, for example, if you go to Tamil Nadu, your name is Ramanuja. When you go to Tamil Nadu, it becomes Ramanujan. Everything ends with na. This is called as language inflection. When you go to China, they don't have the sound of ra. So how they say Hare Rama, Hale Lama. This is called as language inflection. Similarly, at that point of time, this Arabs who were living across the Sindhu river, they didn't have the sound of word S. They have to call Mr. Sharma, they'll call him Harma. The sound of S was replaced by H. So they started to address people living across the Sindhu river as Sindh. So Sa sound to tha nahi, to kya ban gaya? Hindu. And they were the one who ruled. And Britishers anyways were bent on breaking our cultural backbone. As I said, how did Bharat become India? That is how we became Hindus. That's the whole background. So say this, where the scriptures are Hindus, meant for Hindus. We just talked about how old was Islam, how old was Christianity, how old was Buddhism. The scriptures were spoken millions of years ago. When these are recent traditions or religions, how can scripture be spoken for some specific group? And already we have discussed in the previous session that we are not the body but spirit soul. If you are a spirit soul, what gender or what religion does a spirit soul belongs to? All that gender and religion belongs to the body and particular belief system where you have taken birth, not otherwise. So the conclusion, pure love of Godhead is a common goal of all religions. To summarize so far what we discussed, why there are so many different religion scriptures. How can we resolve contradictions, differences, and similarities we saw? 4 levels of worship: Bhaya, Asha, Kartavya, and Raga, Prema. Which scripture teaches pure love of Godhead? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, others like that. Are Vedas Hindu scriptures? No. Let's go to the second part of discussion. Kya Bhagwan, is God personal or impersonal? Which means form or formless. For example, most of the Abrahamic traditions, they don't believe Lord has a form. Yes? If you go to church, there is no form. At the max, you'll find crucified Jesus. Jesus on the crucifixion. Cross. You go to mosque, there is no form. If you go to Gurudwara, there is no form. In all of these, even if you go to what you call as the Jewish temple, in all of these places you'll see the form has been replaced by a book. For Jewish temple, there is Torah. For Islam, there is Quran. For Christianity, there is Holy Bible. And for Sikhism, there is Guru Granth Sahib. So the question comes, all of these says Lord does not have a form. They don't draw. There's no picture of Jesus, there's no picture of Allah, there's no picture of Guru Gobind Singh, which is prohibited. Why? Because Lord does not have a form. Now there is one side of belief system here. Now you come to the other side of belief system where you have temples filled with deities. Navratri is going on, Ganesh Chaturthi recently happened, Krishna Janmashtami happened, now Dashera is going to happen. Forget about Ram, we even have a form of Ravana, all that people, even Asura's form we have. So my question is, who is correct? There are two divergent belief systems. One says form does not exist. Other says form exists. So what is correct? Who is correct? How many of you say both are wrong, Prabhu? Nothing exists. All time pass. Anyone? How many say both are correct? Any reasons why you say both are correct? Any quick thought? Anyone? Why do you say both are correct?
Some may think like to imagine God in a particular
We can open that.
Some may not like to imagine.
That is okay. It's not about one's imagination. The facts are facts.
Actually, as per our this thing, so there is some creator which is of no form of this thing. And that creator is again reincarnating into different forms. So that's why.
Okay. See, all your answers have put a limitation on God. The word Bhagavan itself means who has no limitation. He can be form or he can be formless both. For example, sunshine, does it have form? But the formless appears from the form that is sun. Yes or no? Sunshine does not have a form. The formless actually indicate that there is a form. It is not other way around. Now this whole idea is actually formless but have taken a form, has taken different forms. No, it doesn't happen like that. The formless doesn't has a form. The form is the energetic, which creates an energy. The formless is that. So God, personal or impersonal, God has form or formless. Let's take a look at different religions, what they say. Genesis, the eyes of the Lord. This is the God in Christianity. We also read under his feet is mentioned, inscribed with the finger of God. So there's different limbs of the God is being described in Christianity. Let's say take a look at Islam. In Quran, Allah's face has been described as the most beautiful. Allah's eyes have been described, which clearly shows that the Supreme Person is also a person. So what is the Vedic conclusion? Yes, the Lord is both form and formless. From form comes formlessness. And all the discussion will happen in Bhagavad Gita in detail like that. So form is a source of formless. So now the question comes, who is that one Supreme? Is there first of all one Supreme Lord? Let's take a look. Jesus ever claimed himself to be God, or he said, I am a son of God? Muhammad, did he say I am God? I am a messenger of God. Moses, did he say I am God or I am the messenger of God? Guru Nanak, did he say I am God or I am a student or I am a teacher or spiritual teacher? What did he say? I am a teacher. Buddha, did he say I am God or he taught meditation and renunciation? Mahavir Jain, he was a liberated and perfected soul. Was he God or he ever said he is God? So all this prominent religion from Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, nobody claimed God. अबे भगवान कौन है? इतने सालों से चंपी लगा रखी हमारी. भगवान का नाम का बिजनेस खोला हुआ है. भगवान है कौन? Who is God? So who is the Supreme Person? Let's take a look. First of all, we have to understand what is the definition of word God. God means source, proprietor, enjoyer, and controller. That first thing has to be very clear. We said there are two fundamental doubts about the word, the God. Who created God? That's the first. And can you show me God? Remember from the first session? So by definition itself, God means who is the cause of all causes. That is the meaning of the God. So He is a source, He is a proprietor, He is the enjoyer and controller of everything. Now let's take a look. Do I have any evidences? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Ishvara Paramaha. Who is that Param Ishvara? Brahmaji speaking. That is Krishna. How is his form? Sat Chit Ananda. Vigraha means Rupa. His form is a Sat Chit Ananda. Anadir Adir Govinda. He is the original person. Sarvakarana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Who is saying? Brahmaji. Now Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Mata Sarvam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Madhabhava Samanvitaha. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Aham means I. Sarvasya means of all. Prabhu, all that manifests. Mataha Sarvam Pravartate has come from me. Iti Matva Bhajanti Mam. Those who know this fact, Madhabhava Samanvita, he takes my complete shelter. Mataha Parattaram Nanya Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. These are all shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. Now Krishna himself saying, Mataha Parattaram Nanyat. Mataha Parattaram means cause. There is no other greater cause than I. Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There is no other cause greater than I. And Krishna gives an example of a neck bead. I am like a fine thread which is holding the neck beads, which means everything sustains on my energy. So how does all these cosmic entities are floating in this whole universe? Krishna says, I am the who is this cause of the law of gravity? From where did the gravity came? Gravity has been discovered but not invented. Krishna says, that is my energy. That's the meaning over here. And many, many verses can be quoted like that. So question comes, is Krishna really the Supreme Personality Godhead? Is there any other evidence? Brahmaji said and Krishna himself declared. But is there any other evidence that can really, really prove Krishna is a Supreme Personality Godhead? Yes. Parasar Muni, he has given a definition of the word Bhagavan. Bhagavan. Bha means Bhagya. Van means possessor. One who possesses all the Bhagya of fortune. So what is the definition Parasar Muni has given of the word Bhagavan? Aishwarasya samagrasya virayasya yashashashriya jnana vairagayaschaiva sanna bhag itangana. There are 6 qualities or 6 opulence of the Lord. If somebody has that in full, will be called as a Bhagavan. So if anyone ever say, I am God, you tell him, show me the 6 opulences. Then I'll believe you're God. What is the first opulence of God? Let's take a look. I'll go with the slide. He is the most wealthy person. What is the first opulence? He is the most wealthy person. So we have this Taklu here. What's his name? Jeff Bezos. Yeah, Mr. Jeff. Now he may be a little wealthy now, but was he the most wealthiest person 50 years ago? हो सकता है पैदा भी नहीं हुआ होगा वो. Would he remain the wealthiest person 50 years from now? Not necessarily. So he is wealthy for a certain amount of time, and that position would change. Okay, let's talk about Krishna. Is he the most wealthiest person? Oh, something's happening here, fluctuation. So let's take a look. You see Mother Lakshmi? She's sitting at the feet of Lord Vishnu and massaging. This is a standard picture you might have seen. Beautiful verse. Chintamani prakarasatma shukalpa vriksha lakshavratishu surabhi abhipalayantam Lakshmi sahastra shatasam brahma sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I will just focus on the third line. Lakshmi सहस्त्रशत संभ्रम सेव्यमानम. हम एक लक्ष्मी के पीछे कितनी विनती करते आए हैं आजीवन. लक्ष्मी पूजा वाले दिन अरे कुछ तो आ जा. यहाँ ब्रह्मा जी कह रहे हैं लक्ष्मी सहस्त्र. सहस्त्र मीन्स thousands, सत मीन्स hundreds, which means millions. Lakshmi sahasrashat sambhrama sevyamanam. There are hundreds, thousands, and millions of Lakshmis are rendering service to whom? Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Now somebody who has Lakshmi as a maid servant. मैं लक्ष्मी बाई की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ जो बराबर वाली गांव से आई हो कोई. महालक्ष्मी की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे. मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ब्रह्मा जी कह रहे हैं. You know, who could be more wealthier? Okay. And from the beginning of the time, it's not a tenure, five-year tenure. Huh? Position will change. Second opulence of God is strength. So somebody goes to gym, does a lot of hard work, a lot of struggle. Then he may get some biceps, triceps, 6-pack, 10-packs. But imagine, then he doesn't go for 2 years. The 6-packs turn into a 20-pack. Right or no? Or damuru. You know, all that packs go away. You know, all that fluffy skin comes back. Yes or no? So just to maintain that, how much you have to struggle? Now, look about the strength of Krishna. 7 years, 7 months, 7 days old. This beautiful Leela of Govardhan occurred during the Kartik month. We are celebrating Govardhan festival on 23rd of this October. He was 7-year-old. Look, from which hand is he lifting the mountain? Not the right hand, with the left hand. Generally, where do you have? Krishna was righty. Well, Krishna was righty, lefty, that doesn't matter. He's, you know. But imagine, if you are a righty, which hand has more strength? No, he had always done everything, but he's holding on the left hand. And among the fingers, he's not holding with the hand. He's holding with the finger. Which is the weakest finger in your hand? You see that carefully? With that tiny finger, the weakest finger, he's holding the biggest mountain. Even if you go today and you have to do parikrama of that, it takes almost 6 hours just to do a parikrama. Such a huge mountain. Or that mountain, kagaj ka nahi hai, huh? That mountain, Krishna is lifting. And do you see any bicep, tricep, 6-packs, 12-packs? So, in the early days when Prabhupada started the movement, so our idea of strength means, you know, big muscles bulging out of the body. So one devotee drew this picture. When he drew the picture of Krishna, so when he showed Krishna holding Govardhan, he had muscles like this. You know, chest like this, muscle like this, and 6-pack and big breast like this. And Prabhupada saw this, Prabhupada began to laugh. Prabhupada said, well, Krishna doesn't have to have all this thing to have strength. Huh? He's always all-powerful. So then that picture was scrapped away. And this picture was there, like that. There are many, many examples. We'll discuss all. Next month, we're going to discuss only about Krishna's story, actually. The third opulence is fame, right? Now, at one point in time in the history of mankind, Sachin was said the god of cricket. The god of cricket is dead. I mean, that means there is another god now. The position has been replaced. Yes or no? 25 years ago, probably Kapil Dev was said the god of cricket. And maybe for a while, Ajruddin was said. At one point in time, Bollywood was known by Amitabh Bachchan, maybe Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, etc., Salman Khan, whatnot. You know, every year the beauty pageant changes. Miss World changes every year. The point is, can you ever be famous forever in this world? Never. Your fame is so temporary. You could be famous, but not forever. Now take a look at Krishna's fame. Krishna stole Makhan. This is Makhan Chor Leela, and he's known as Makhan Chor. He ran away from the battlefield. He is known as Ranchor. He danced with the gopis. He is known as Gopinath. And all this incident didn't happen 5 years ago. It happened 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago it happened. Still people even up to today remember that, sing that, compose kirtans, bhajans on all these incidents. Now if you ever did a chori, nobody wrote a song for you. Probably they wrote a police complaint for you. Yes or no? So that is Krishna's fame. 5,000 years still goes on. Okay. Now fourth opulence of the Lord is beauty. Now the beauty of the Lord is, for example, the female cockroach. Maybe how beautiful she may be, would only be attracted to male cockroach. Hai na? For example, let's say Aishwarya Rai. How much beautiful she may be. If you bring her in front of hungry lion, he's not gonna say, "Can I marry you?" He'll say, "I'm gonna have you for lunch." I'm not gonna take you for lunch. I'm gonna have you for lunch. So point is, our beauty, whatever we call as a beauty, first of all, that is aging. We grow old and that all goes away. Second is only little bit appreciated in the same species. And that is also for initial days only. Naya naya chehra. After that it all fades away. Look at the beauty of Krishna. He is always forever a 16-year-old boy. When he was standing on the battlefield as a charioteer of Arjuna, he was, according to physical calculation, he was 89 years old. But yet his beauty was of 16-year-old boy. He never ages. And when he would walk into the forest, either with the peacocks, how did he got that? There's so many stories we'll discuss in the next month festivals. How did he got the peacock feather? When he would walk into the forest, nobody would ever keep feet on his footprints. His footprints will always be preserved all through the day. When you walk into the forest, all the trees would bow down to cover the forest with a shadow, so there is no sunlight disturbing Krishna. All the trees would shed their leaves, so all the thorns on the pathway are covered over by the soft flowers and the leaves, so Krishna and his friends and the cows doesn't have to step on the hard floor. The peacocks, monkeys loved Krishna. So it is Krishna's beauty, and it never fades. Even if you look at Krishna today, if you go to temple, when you look at, let's say, how many have gone to ISKCON temple, let's say Nigadi temple, Kathraj temple, you've gone. When you've taken a look at Radha Vrindavan Chandra, how many say, wow, maja aa gaya. Maja aa gaya, aa. The fifth opulence, knowledge. Now, to be really knowledgeable, so much hard work we have to do. So much preparation, so many exams you have to write, isn't it? Now look at Krishna. It was an impromptu presentation. It was not told by Arjuna, be ready, huh? Tomorrow there is going to be interview. That interview will be well documented. So make sure, these are my questions I'm going to ask you. Make sure your answers are ready. It wasn't like that. It was impromptu. And look in that Bhagavad Gita what Krishna says. Okay, let's read the translation. Somebody please read out the translation. Time is getting up. Somebody read out loudly. Yeah, just read it. Don't wait for the mic. Quick.
I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and meaningless. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
I'm about to give you knowledge. Knowing this, you don't need to know anything else. And the sixth, which is very, very difficult to have, if you're the most beautiful person, if you're the most knowledgeable person, if you're the most wealthiest person, you're the most strongest person, to have renunciation. Imagine how many of you say those who are beautiful are generally arrogant. Their sense of pride. Those who are wealthy, they have arrogance of their wealth. Those who have fame, they're arrogant of their fame. They become proud, egoistic, yes or no? Now look at the renunciation of Krishna. That personality became the charioteer. You know how the charioteer functions in those days? Now, during the war, there is a huge ruckus going on. There was a roaring of sounds. So how the charioteer would know what the master wants? Turn right or left? The system was, the master sitting on the chariot would kick by his feet. If the master wants the chariot to turn right, he would kick on the right shoulder. If he wants to move the chariot on the left, he'll hit on the left shoulder. And if he wants to move straight with an acceleration, hit on the back like that. Because, it's not that they've gone to watch a movie and they're sitting peacefully. There's a war going on. Halla gulla mach raha hai. The weapon's being shot. So how would you hear? How would the person hear? And the charioteer wasn't like that. The charioteer is sitting here and the master is sitting just behind. This is considerable. The chariot used to be huge. So how would he hear? Where does the master want? That was the thing. When Krishna accepted that position, who can even think of doing it? You will say, I would send my best charioteer. Krishna had his own charioteer. He could have sent that. When Arjuna said, Krishna said, yes, I'll become your charioteer. Renunciation. So Krishna proves he is Supreme Lord. He showed his entire universe in his belly, the dirt-eating pastime. And he again showed the entire universe outside of him to Arjuna at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, chapter 11, Bhagavad Gita, Virat Purusha. So, it's up to you to decide now if Krishna is God or not. So, if Krishna is that one God, sometimes people ask, what about others? There are 4 truths. Tattva means fact. There is Vishnu Tattva, Shambhu Tattva, Shakti Tattva, and Jiva Tattva. What is Vishnu Tattva? Krishna, Rama, Nasimha, Vamana, Vara, all these are Vishnus. How many kinds of Vishnus are there? It is mentioned in Narada Pancharatra. There are 3 types of Vishnus found in this creation. Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu. From these are details. I'll not go into details. You can take a look at presentation. Then there is Shakti Tattva. So Vishnu Tattvas are a different category. Then there is Shakti Tattva, which begins from Radharani, Rama Devi, Mahalakshmi, Parvati, Durga, Kali, Saraswati. The feminine aspect of the divine energy. That is Shakti Tattva. Then there is Shambhu Tattva. If you want to know about Shambhu Tattva, you want to know much about Shiva Linga, what is Shiva Linga and the controversies about it, please hear the last Sunday lecture, the part of Light of Bhagavad, Cosmic Travel, part 2. There I have discussed in detail about who is Shambhu. Just to tell you in one line, who is Shambhu? Now, Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu, all the forms of the Lord, which he takes as an expansion, is to fulfill a particular purpose. For example, let's take a case of Nrsimhadev. Now, when Hiranyakashipu, you know Nrsimhadev, right? When Hiranyakashipu had hit the pillar, Nrsimhadev came out. The question is, why did Nrsimhadev came out? Ram could have come out. Why didn't Ram couldn't come out? The reason the Ram didn't come out is simple. Because Brahmaji had given certain blessings. Only Nrsimhadev was fitting into that. No man, no animal. So he came as half man, half lion. No weapon. Therefore he had his nails. So Lord appeared in Nrsimhadev to fulfill a particular objective. Similarly, we have a pastime of Vamana Dev, dwarf incarnation, who went to the Sabha of Bali Maharaj. Imagine if Nrsimhadev would have entered the Sabha of Bali Maharaj and said, I need charity. What Bali Maharaj would have given? So as a small Brahmana boy, he went there. And seeing the innocent boy, Bali Maharaj agreed to give 3 steps. So every incarnation has a purpose. So what is the purpose of Shambhu? So Sankarshan is the Ishta Devta of Shambhu. And that Sankarshan expands himself in Shambhu for the purpose of destructive energy. That Shambhu is what? Which destroys the material creation. This is the Vedic version. That Shambhu, who is not part of this material creation, who is beyond this material creation, resides in Kailash. Kailash is not part of this material creation. That Shambhu appears as Rudra, as a son of Brahma. From Brahma appears Rudra, who we loosely call as Shiva, etc. The one who you worship in the temple is neither Rudra, is nor Shambhu. The one you worship in the temple is called as Shiva. These are all different personalities. It is that Shiva who united with Prakriti, which means Parvati, to give birth to all the generations, to give birth to all the living entities in this material world. So these are different personalities, but all are appearing from Shambhu of Kailash. And that Shambhu comes from Sankarshan. Jiva Tattva are us, who are not Vishnu Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Shambhu Tattva. We are the living entity, which means the demigods and all 8.4 million species are part of this. Hare Krishna. So this is the relationship between Vishnu. This is the relationship. Okay, don't nudge. This is the relationship between Vishnu Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Shambhu and Jiva Tattva. Coming to the last section, I'll quickly wind this up. If Krishna is that one God, who are the Devatas? What about Ganesh? What about Saraswati? There are so many of that. What about Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Hanumanji? Who are these? Who are Devatas? So, even Brahma, from Brahma down to an ant, including us, we all are Jiva Tattva. Shambhu is not part of it. Shivji is not part of it. He is an expansion of Sankarshan. We all are Jiva Tattvas. Now, let's say you're working for an IT company. An IT company, you will have an administrative head, let's say the owner of the company. And then he relegates his responsibility, or rather delegates his responsibility to different administrative head. You have a finance head, marketing head, human resources head, right? Like that, so that the way he wants the company to function, company functions. So let's take an example of it. So administrative structure of a company, you have sales head, finance head, marketing head, all that. Now, who would you hire for this position? Who you deem to be the most appropriate candidate? So when the creation of this world happens, the first living entity born in this creation is Brahma. Again, if you want to know all these details, here to the cosmic travel discussion that we are having on Sundays. So among the whole pool of living entities who are still hovering over in this material creation, the most pious living entity is selected as Brahma. And then for respective positions, whatever is the... Now for your hiring, there is an educational qualification, right? For your hiring in this world, there is an educational qualification. For this administrative roles for the management of universal affairs, the piety is the criteria. How much is your piety? What's your piety? Accordingly, the people get this. For example, when Arjuna was going to Indraloka, on the way along with the Maithili, the charioteer of Indra, he saw many shining stars. Mahabharata clearly says so. So he asked, what are the shining stars? And then Maithili said, no, these are not shining stars. These are effulgent personalities. These are the pious souls who have been given their own abode in the space. Just like if you're a government employee, like an IAS, IPS officer, they provide an accommodation, right? Similarly, those who become obedient to the laws of the Lord, they get respective position, respective planets in this creation. Is that something very difficult to comprehend? When within this world, a government can give you a bungalow for you to live. Can't the head of the universe give you a particular place to live in this universe on your own? Have you heard of Dhruva Lok? Who resides in Dhruva Lok? Dhruva Maharaj. So to him also a dedicated planet was given or not? That's the point. So like this, we have different positions here. So we're going to have a rapid fire round. I'm going to give you the name of a department. You make a guess which DT heads that department. Okay? Fair enough deal? Rapid fire round, okay? Let's see who gives the maximum correct answer. Let's begin with first. Electricity Minister. Electricity Minister. Surya Dev. Agreed? No contradiction? Who is a construction engineer? Brahma. अरे यार फोटो भी आ रही है, गड़बड़ हो रही है. फोटो गायब नहीं करी मैंने, गलती हो गई. Brahma. Who is the water minister? वरुण देव. देखो, सब पता है आपको, बताने की जरूरत ही क्या है? आपको पता है कौन कौन देवता कहाँ का बैठा हुआ है. Who is the water distribution minister? Indradev, right? Who is the power minister? Power. Agni, power. Who manages? Agni Devta. Maybe you got confused with the photo. That was a little confusing photo. Who is the wind minister? Vayu, right? He manages all the Vayu. Hanumanji was a son of Vayu, and you remember when Indra had thrown his Brahma, what is that? Vajra, and Hanumanji had fainted. So Vayu Devta became very upset, and he discontinued the supply of air. It is mentioned in Ramayana, those who were sitting attend the nature's call. They got stuck in the bathroom only. Because he stopped Vayu. So there are 8 to 9 types of Vayu, Apana, Upana, Udana, all these things. So for you to excrete, it's a particular Vayu. And when Vayu Devta decided not to have any Vayu, so jo jahan pe baitha tha wahi atak gaya. It was just like a full stop. It's a fact. Ramayana talks about it. Valmiki Ramayana. Vayu, the wind god. Now, Home Minister. I will not show the photo. Let me ask. Who is the Home Minister? Who manages the law and order situation in this world? अरे कितना डिपार्टमेंट दोगे ब्रह्मा को? लक्ष्मी तो धन की मालकिन है. Who is the Home Minister? No, Lakshmi is not of this world. Treasury Minister is somebody else. Who is the Home Minister? Not Amit Shah. Huh? No, Durga. इसलिए मैंने फोटो नहीं दिखाई. आंसर बड़ा आसान हो जाता. मैं कहा जरा देखता हूँ कितना बताओगे तो लोग. तो Home Minister is Durga. Now, who is the Defense Minister? Who is the Defense Minister? The Devatas were so worried they went to Brahma that we need some, a warrior. We need somebody A command, yes, Kartikeya, defense minister. And then that whole incident of Shiva and Parvati. That's the time Shivji's marriage happened with the daughter of Himvan. That is Parvati. That whole incident, the story comes. And then Kartikeya was born, commander in chief. Who is the education minister? Saraswati. Saraswati, Saraswati. The goddess of learning, right? Now it's going to be interesting. Okay, I'll not show the photo. Who is the HR head of this universe? Human Resources Department. Who allocates you to different departments? Who does the allocation of resources? भारत कहाँ से आ गया यार? वो तो नारायण करते रहते हैं. Indra to water management minister. Human resource director. Who? यमराज. अरे यमलोक की तो जाते हो और फिर यमलोक के बाद तुम्हें मिलता है ना, तुम यहाँ जाओ तुम वहाँ जाओ. Yes or no? So the human resource minister is Yamraj. Now, who is the grievance minister? जिसके पास जाके अपना दुखड़ा सुनाते हो, सुनता है और आपको अरे आसान सा आंसर है. हर मंदिर के बाहर सबसे पहले उन्हीं के दर्शन होते हैं. गणेश जी रे, गणेश जी. ही सेड टू बी विघ्न विनाशक, राइट? गणेश जी. तो जिसके पास जब भी परेशानी होती है गणेश जी के पास जाते हैं. गणपति बप्पा. दैट्स अ होल स्टोरी अबाउट गणेश जी, राइट? द रिमूवर ऑफ ऑब्स्टेकल्स. नाउ फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, नॉट Lakshmi. Not Lakshmi. Finance minister. Vishnu and Lakshmi has got nothing to do this world. Kuber. Kuber is the the Ravan and Kuber. Ravan has got that plane. What's the name? The Pushpak Viman. Yes, like that. Kuber. Now, okay, this is going to be interesting. Who is the mental health minister? Kamadev. No. He's the lust minister. Who is the mental health minister? Moon. Chandra. Dev, like that. So this can go for the 33 crore devtas. So I'll pause the discussion here. Is that okay? Is it making complete sense to you now? Vishnu Narayan is not part of it. No, he is the mental health. Chandra, moon, is a presiding deity of the mind. Like that. Not the health minister. For mind, the presiding deity for the eyes, presiding deity is Surya. For the mind is Chandra. Like that. And there are all these, for every part of the body, there are different Ishta Devta. So I just added this complicated one because I knew this was gonna. Because बाकी सब तो रेगुलर थे, समझ आ गया. ये सब हम पूजा नहीं करते तो आप लोगों को इतना आइडिया नहीं होगा. ऐसे सब लिम्स के लिए, जैसे आँखों के देवता हैं सूर्य देवता. सो आप जब वो when you offer water, so तो सूर्य को जल चढ़ाते हैं. So it is said it improves your eyes. There is a mantra, if you can do that, it's a thing which happens. हाँ, तभी तो सबका दिमाग पागल हुआ पड़ा है. तभी तो इतने सारे मेंटल हॉस्पिटल खुल गए. अभी जाके सभी मेंटलों को बता रहा, जाके चंद्र की पूजा करो. Okay, see, you cannot worship. That's the whole point. In Kali Yuga, only 5 Ishta Devtas are there. 5 prominent Devtas are there. The worship would happen prominently of 5. That's the blessing for. So blessing means that's what is being. First of all, you don't even have worship of Brahma Ji. Nobody worships. Everyone has come from Brahma. All these have come from Brahma only, na? There is no worship of Brahma. The worship in Kali Yuga, 5 Devtas happen. One is Shiv, one is Parvati as Durga, तीसरा is Ganesh Ji. एक परिवार तो निपट गया. Okay? चौथा सूर्य देवता. And 5वें नंबर पे आते हैं विष्णु. These are the 5 prominent deities for the Kali Yuga. You don't find anyone else. It's all given in the scriptures like that. If I start giving you verses for everyone, तो हो गया फिर. So somebody may say, oh, you are calling our devta as demigod? So is it diminishing to address these great personalities as demigods? Imagine, Prime Minister Modi. Modi is a Prime Minister. There would be a Deputy Prime Minister also. So you call Prime Minister, you call a Deputy Prime Minister. Is that an insult to Deputy Prime Minister? It's actually an honor. It's a very, very great position. So it's not like that. So what is the difference between the Lord and the Devatas? The Lord is one, Devatas are 330 millions. Post of Lord is always the same, but the post of Devatas keep changing. They all have. Indra is not the name of that personality. Brahma is not the name. These are all positions. Home Minister, Chief Minister, they are different names. The Home Minister name, position name in the universal order is Durga. But that's not the name of the living entity sitting there. But we address that because they keep on changing. So we address them in that way, like that. The residence of all the devtas of the material world, well, for Vishnu is spiritual world. Activity, administrative work. But for Krishna, he's always playing flute. That's the only activity. The body of Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, is eternal. Well, for devatas, everyone has appearance and disappearance. Birth, death, old age and disease. Of course, they may not go through disease and old age. Can anyone become Supreme Lord? In your dreams. Last subject matter. FAQ is about Krishna and demigods. Let's quickly finish it. Difference between worshipping Krishna and devatas. So, Krishna gives us what we need. Demigods give us what you want. You can read 3rd chapter Bhagavad Gita verses 11 to 13 for that reason. 11 and 12. A simple example. If a teenager goes to the father, I would need 50 rupees. Father says, why? I want to buy a smoke. Father will give a slap. Right? No father would agree. Even if he is a smoker. The same boy goes to the shopkeeper. He gives him 50 rupees. Says, give me a smoke. What do you think? He'll give a slap or smoke? That is the difference between Krishna and Devata. Krishna gives what we need. Devatas give what I want. That is what we discussed in the 3rd chapter, 11 and 12. Only Krishna can award liberation. Demigods cannot do the same. You read this in detail in the 7th chapter, 9th chapter about. Even the blessing and their ability to bless you comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the difference is why people approach Krishna with a motivation of love and service. For demigods, dhan sampatti ghar aave. That's the whole idea. What do they grant? Krishna gives what you need. Just like parents know what is best for you and they give. Not that they fulfill all your desire, but demigods are obliged to fulfill your desire if you please them. That's an order, just like shopkeeper. Blessings of the Lord is eternal. Whereas in case of devatas, it's not eternal. You know that story of what is his name? Vrakasur. So Vrakasur was performing severe austerity to please Lord Shiva. He was cutting off different parts of the body. Finally, Lord Shiva appeared. He said, ask for a blessing. But Lord Shiva did a mistake. He appeared along with Parvati. Now Parvati is the most beautiful and charming woman in this whole creation. She is the one who charms everyone, keeps in this material world. And Vrakasur ने जब पार्वती देखा तो भूल गया सब कुछ. बोला भाई मुझे तो पार्वती चाहिए. Now how do I ask for Parvati? The Vrakasur began to think, what should I ask? So he said, my dear Lord, give me a blessing on whoever head I keep my hand. The head will burst. He will die. अब शिवजी भी हैरान, अबे कैसे कैसे भूत प्रेत पिशाच मेरे भक्त हैं. मतलब हद होती है कम भक्तों की, समझ नहीं आता. मांग भी रहा है तो क्या मांग रहा है. मतलब एटम बम का वरदान मांग रहा है. मतलब you put your hand, elders put their hand on a child as a blessing. This is the purpose of the hand. What is saying? Give me the power to my hand, whoever head I keep it, it burst into flames. तो शिव जी ने कहा क्या करूं भैया, भगवान ने सेवा ऐसी दी, इनको भी तो संवारना है. शिव जी सेड सो बी इट. अब वो देख रहा है. अब शिव जी सोचा भैया हो गया अपना काम, क्या देख रहा है, जा. अरे क्या कर रहा है. अब शिव जी को शंका हो गई, यार ये तो कुछ दाल में काला है. पहले वरदान मांगने से पहले तो प्रभु प्रभु कर रहा था, अभी सीना तान के खड़ा है और शिव जी को हाथ दिखा रहा है. अब शिव जी बोले ये क्या कर रहा है. बोले मुझे ये नहीं, मुझे तो वो चाहिए. और शिव जी को पता चला, अरे बाबा, दिस रास्कल इज बिहाइंड माय वाइफ. दिस रास्कल इज बिहाइंड माय वाइफ Parvati. एंड करते हुए दैट फेलो स्टार्टेड टू कम क्लोजर टू शिव जी. एंड शिव जी भाई ब्लेसिंग मेरा दिया, फुल प्रूफ है. I will become the first subject of his exploitation. Shivji ran away. Shivji ran away. And he is running. And Shivji is wondering what to do. Where do I run? Where do I run in this world? This guy is going to come behind. And then Shivji prayed to Lord Rama. Sankarshan is one and same. And then the Lord appeared. I believe as a dwarf. As a young boy, the Lord had appeared, and with his charming tone he spoke. Are you fool, where are you running? He said, oh, I am Vrikasur. I have got the boon from the great Shiva. On whoever head I keep my hand, that will burst into flames. And the boy began to laugh. Ha 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 ha. That Shambhu, that beggar, he doesn't have a house of his own. What will he bless you? I mean, if somebody has a capacity to bless you, first of all, he'll bless himself, na? Right? Have you met roadside Pandit ji? भविष्य बहुत उज्जवल है आपका. तेरा भविष्य बेकार है, तभी बैठा तू वहाँ. वो सबको पट्टी पढ़ा रहा है, टोपी पहना रहा है बैठे बैठे. तेरा भविष्य बहुत उज्जवल है. अबे मेरा भविष्य उज्जवल है तो तेरा तो बेकार होगा, तभी तो बैठा तू सड़क पे. है यार. So that boy said, "Arey, how can you believe that beggar? He does not have a home. He does not wear a clothes. He does not have anything, and he thinks he can give you." And because the Lord is speaking, He is the master of illusory energy. He thought, "अरे हाँ, मेरी तो बेइज्जती हो गई. दुनिया भर में बगाया. And now I get to know that I did not have that power." So he said, "What do I do? How do I test?" That boy said, "Very simple. See if you hand that power or not. Keep in your head and you will get to know." And he kept the head on his head. And that's how he died. That's the whole story of Vrikasur that comes. So the demigod's blessings are temporary. As long as a person is alive, he has a blessing. If not, it's gone. Why the demigod worship is recommended in the scripture, we've already said. Not everyone is inspired to, with devotion. Some have bhaya, some have, the material desires. Different desires. For that reason, they approach the devas. Is demigod worship condemned in scriptures? Not at all. It is in fact recommended in the scriptures. But above all of that, it is said, akama sarva kamava moksha kama udaridi tivrena bhakti yogena yajita purusha param. If you have no desire, if you have all the desires, or if you have desire for moksha, approach Vishnu, approach Lord Shri Krishna. Is it practical to worship all the demigods independent of Krishna? Can you? How many would you keep? You go into any Hindu household, they have such a big market shop. All varieties of them are kept. How many would you worship? For how long would you worship? It's not possible actually. Can I approach Krishna if I have material desires? Yes. We'll discuss that in Bhagavad Gita. Yes, we can approach if you have material desires. Ultimately, He's our Father. Point of Bhagavad Gita is, I'm your Father. If you have anything, come to me. Why you have to go to my representatives? I'm coming to you, life after life, creation after creation, coming to meet you. Just to remind you that I'm there. You don't have to. Would the Devatas get angry and punish me if I divert my attention to Krishna? How many of you think is a serious problem? If I stop worshipping my Ishta, बड़ा गुस्सा होने वाला है. छोड़ दिया. No, it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen. And there are many, many examples. In fact, they all become very pleased because they themselves are worshipping Lord Vishnu. And when the person understands and recognizes, you should in fact offer your gratitude to your Ishta that because of your mercy, I have understood the greatness of the Lord. And it is not that I am saying, it's the message of Bhagavad Gita, as we saw through the verses today. So to conclude, Krishna consciousness of the message of Bhagavad Gita resolves all the contradictions. 4 tattvas, Vishnu tattva, Shambhu tattva, Shakti tattva, and we all are Jiva tattva, including Brahma and all the Devatas. Bhagavad Gita message is to love God and to serve Him by all our might. And the essence of all religion is to cultivate love of Godhead. And that cultivation of love of Godhead begins with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. By the chanting of the holy names of the Lord as prescribed for the sage, the best yajna process. That is how we revive our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Nothing else you have to do. You don't have to give up anything. You don't have to give up your job, family life, no renunciation, nothing. Stay back in your situation. Just chant. If you're cooking, chant. If you're just walking around, moving around, just chant. What's the thing? How much time it takes? And that's how we revive. So to conclude, so far we have discussed 4 eternal truths. First, I am not everything, God exists. Please repeat. I am not everything. Next. This body is not all in all. Soul exists. This life is not all in all. Reincarnation exists. We have discussed that, right? And we have not fully discussed, but we're going to discuss. This world is not all in all. Spiritual world exists. What is that place? Where the Supreme Lord resides beyond the material world. This would not be a part of our discussion of this series. This you can join us for Sunday session where again tomorrow is a subject matter spiritual world which we'll be discussing, or else you can watch the recordings of the previous sessions. With that, I come to the conclusion of today's session. Hare Krishna. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki. I know this is a little long topic, but I just wanted to quickly sum it up in 5 weeks. And therefore, we had to a little bit rush up. Presentation recording would be available. You can peacefully hear it again if you have any doubts. But before we conclude, any clarifications, any doubts, any argumentations or debates? Yes, sir. Mike, please. There are 8.
Yeah.
Earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, positive.
So I was asking, ahankara is kind of a negative thing, how it can be related to a soul?
It's not related to soul. Just like the earth, water is not related to soul. The soul has acquired this temporary position. The soul, we are a tenant in this body. And the body is made up of earth, water, fire, ether, right? Gross body. And the subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. We have acquired this body. Therefore, the body is compared to a vehicle. I am not the vehicle. Vehicle is different than I. I have acquired this temporary position. What is false ego? Ego means identity. False ego means wrong identity. What is the wrong identity? I am this body.
Okay.
That's it. It's not a physical disposition. It's a concept. It's a thinking. It's a part of consciousness. Therefore, it is called false ego. So your question could be, then what is true ego? If there is something false, there has to be something true. The true ego is, I am the servant of the Lord. And how the false ego turns into true ego? The procedure is Bhakti Yoga, which begins with chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any other questions or comments? Anything online? In the meantime here? Yes, Shamananda. Please, mic please.
You said that all the souls are different, but
Speak on the mic please.
you said last time that all the souls are different,
Okay?
but I think the souls are same. Don't you think like everybody's having a gross?
It's not a question of my thinking or your thinking. Who cares, gives a damn about our thinking? We don't
Yes.
know anything. Scripture says very clearly, we all are unique. We are individuals. Now, when you say, I don't know what you mean by soul being similar. The soul is similar in the sense their nature is similar. Satchit Ananda. But we still have unique disposition. So it is not a subject matter of our understanding. It is a subject matter of understanding the truth. If you're not able to understand this point in time, that's okay. With time we'll understand. But the truth remains truth. The truth is law of gravity acts. It's not a question of how it acts, or maybe it acts this way. Maybe actually apple was supposed to fly, or apple was supposed to go in a 45-degree angle. Maybe the wind was moving in a 90-degree angle, so apple fell vertically downward. So we can go on thinking.
Yeah. But for example, you said na, two sun rays, they are same. They are the source of the sun rays is sun, which
Okay.
is like Lord. We are a part and parcel of Lord. We are Atma. So if you think the sun rays are identical, that means same.
I never said identical. You again saying if you think sun rays are identical, you are only putting a condition.
But don't you think they are not identical?
Why would I think? I don't have any ability to think. I repeat what scripture says. What is my ability to think and understand the subject matter which is beyond my thinking?
Okay.
We can logically agree, disagree, and present argumentation for it. But when we start without having any background or reference, then we start thinking. It's like shooting for a star in the dark.
Yeah. Okay.
Where will you shoot? Maybe I think it may be here. No, maybe here.
Okay.
Now, somebody tells you, well, where you're standing, from there, 45-degree up north. You'll find it. Now you can do something about it. If you're on the platform of darkness, where you can start shooting for it. So, the simple fact why each one of us are unique, medical fact is, despite having the same genes from which the child is born, I'm talking about the, twins, they still have their own likings and dislikings. That's the only point. What your thinking says now. Okay. Yes.
Prabhuji, one doubt regarding reincarnation. So we said the hierarchy is like soul, then mind, and then body. So when we reincarnate, so the detachment with the mind and the body, right?
Gross body. What we give up is gross body. What is lit up in the cremation ground is your gross body.
Okay. So mind.
Subtle body, which means mind, intelligence, false ego, they accompany the soul to the next destination.
Okay. That's why we remember. Some people remember.
Some people remember that's their papa karma.
Okay. Thank you.
Like that. That's their papa karma. So it's a simple example to understand. How many of you have had dreams, very scary dreams? Have had dreams where you're flying in the sky, suddenly you fall in the water? Have you had dreams where somebody have thrown you from the hill? Have you had a dream you have been chased by a tiger or a deer? So maybe you were a goat in one life and the tiger was chasing you. Yeah, that impression is created now. And with the same mind, you're moving from one living form to another living form. Why would you have it? You know, there is something called as dream psychology. But we don't discuss that subject matter today because our mind is so much contaminated by the social media. Earlier, the dreams can indicate about your future, can indicate about your past because of which you are having those dreams. There's a whole dream science actually. But yes, factual. People have a very clear indication within their house who's going to pass away when. Even today we have case studies. But because our mind is so much agitated by this media, social media, because we are filling in so much things. Now what you remember in the night is not factually from your subtle memory, is what you have seen through the day. Now earlier there was no TV and all that. And that time mind was quite pure. Only entertainment, how many of you remember those entertainment was Nautankies, Ram Leela and all that would happen. बचपन में अगर आप कुछ देखने भी गए जब टीवी नहीं हुआ करता था दशहरे के समय में रामलीला देखने जाते थे और ज़्यादा ज़्यादा कुछ सर्कस वर्कस हो गया अदरवाइज एवरीथिंग वाज बेस्ड ऑन कृष्णा रामलीला नरसिम्हा लीला नो नॉनसेंस वाज देयर नाउ वी हैव सब्जेक्टेड आवरसेल्फ टू सो मच डर्टी थिंग्स अभी तो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फिगर इट आउट इट्स एन एक्चुअल ड्रीम और दिस इज समथिंग व्हाट यू saw through your day and that has appeared in your mind. You know, there is actually a text, Vedic text I've read through, there is a whole details of it. Not only that, there is a whole science about the omens. What you see outside has a clear indication. So many instances are there. And many of our devotees have so many experiences. And those who have certain level of purity, they can, looking at the situation, can tell you what's happening around. These are valid signs. Just like before the earthquake comes, the birds have that ability to understand. How many of you heard somewhere kutta ro raha hai, to matlab koi jaane wala hai? How many of you have witnessed it to be a fact? How many have witnessed? Now it's very difficult to say, अभी कुत्ते को घर वाले ने निकाल के फेंक दिया तो बात अलग है. अभी तो all crazy thing happens. But I remember any time in my while growing up, if the dog is crying, I remember my mother used to say, by tomorrow morning we'll hear a bad news. It used to be always there. It used to be. How many of you remember those? Raise your hands now. See how many of you? They have that ability to sense it. These are so many things actually. Subtle things are all given like this. But today we have got covered over with so much contaminated ether that we are subjecting ourselves because of this news, media, movies and all that. That's the reason I said in the beginning of the session today, are we advancing or degrading? We have no sense and no idea where our life is going. Anything online? Okay.
Prabhuji, is it okay to be ambitious in this material world?
Yes, fine. That's okay. We cannot give up certain things or anything like that. So the question is not being okay or not okay. The question is, can I accept spiritual life? Can I take on to the spiritual culture? If you can take to the spiritual culture, everything would fall in its own place. To have this remote discussion, is it good to be ambitious or not ambitious? Even if I say it's not good, what will change for you? Anything would change for you? Your mind is set to be ambitious. Your mind is conditioned to be ambitious. So the question should not be like this. Question is, I am ambitious. Point is, how do I make it a little more God conscious? How do I connect myself to spiritual life and remain ambitious? So that I fulfill what I'm aspiring for. There's no compromise on that, so I don't feel like, oh, I have to give up something. But yet I become God conscious. My relationship with my Supreme Father gets established. That's a better way of looking at it. And for that, I would like to invite you all in the coming month of Kartik, which as I said during the course of discussion, which is beginning from 10th of October up to 8th of November, is the most auspicious month. And that in that Kartik month, every Saturday and Sunday we have festivals. We'll make the festival announcements when that weekend comes. We'll be having program morning, evening, Saturday, Sunday, and every evening there'll be a festival here also. So during that Kartik month, there are certain things which are described for the Kartik month to be done. One is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Is to wake up early in the morning, take a bath, wear a fresh piece of cloth, and the first thing is to do is to remember, is to chant the names of the Lord like that. Second thing, charity. Third thing is to visiting a holy dham, which means any spiritual activity which is done in the month of Kartik gives you result 1,000 times more than which you will do it in any other time of the year. So as a part of our, we generally every year do this program like this, where we do festivals for 3 weeks, and on the 4th week we take devotees out for dham. So generally nearby dham is Nasik and Pandharpur. For a weekend trip we can have it. So 5th and 6th November happens to be the last weekend of Kartik month. So we are planning, everything is already worked out. Some of you might have seen the announcement about it. So I would welcome you all and strongly encourage you for all to be part of this retreat. We leave on the 5th morning. We're going to book a buses. We travel by bus. You have an option to select which bus you want to go by, AC or non-AC. We're going to live in ISKCON Pandharpur. Just mind you, we already have quite a good number of registrations and the accommodation is limited there. So if you are thinking about it, think sooner. If you think later on, I'm still going to work out something, then I'll have to get some accommodation far off from the ISKCON temple. Then a little bit of traveling would be involved. Of course, buses would be there arranged. And we go and we visit the place of Vithalji. We'll take the Chandrabhaga. And there are many other sacred places in Pandharpur. How many of you have been to Pandharpur? So there is one thing, most of you have not been. Vithalji, Lord Shri Krishna's very, very beautiful temple, very, very sacred place. So that's something which I'll encourage you to all to come, take part. And for all of you just to have some experience of, if in case have no idea what yatra means, I'll just quickly show you this, what yatra actually means. How the sound can go there? Sound can go through HDMI. Mic, the volume of the TV. So how the yatras we organize is something for you to witness. For the online audience, we can close it actually, because they'll not be able to get the sound. So those who are online, thank you for joining in. We can conclude the stream. Okay. This is our recent South India Ahobilam Yatra. Once in a year we should go in the association of devotees, at least once. That was Simhachalam. I don't have a time, but in future I'll tell you about this trip. It was one of the most beautiful, most difficult trip and trekking that we ever had to do on a mountain, which is a thick forest. Every morning before climbing up the difficult mountain, we'll always pray to Narasimhadev. It was very risky. With that, thank you all. Today happens to be the second last episode. When we meet the next Saturday, we'll be concluding our Gita in a Nutshell series. So after that, you will have an option to either come on Sundays. Anyways, next month will be festivals. So we'll probably meet across festivals. And then we'll see. November onwards. We'll not have a Saturday program, but all of you can join the Sunday program.